Welcome, Climate Viewers. My name is Jim Lee from Climate Viewer News, and it is Sunday, February 22nd, 2015. I am here with Bill Narr, my right-hand man from Climate Viewer News, and we're going to talk today about the CIA weather control conspiracy. This one is not a conspiracy, even in the slightest. You guys have probably heard a lot on a lot of websites about weather control, and we're really going to break down the facts in graphic detail today. This is a very important message. I want everybody to understand that I take this very, very seriously, this one particular subject, and I've devoted 3 years of my life researching it, and I've debated the scientists who are involved in it, and this is something very important. So hold on to your seatbelts. We're about to get into it. Bill, how have you been, dude?
I've been hanging in there, man. One day at a time.
That's all you can do, brother. That's all you can do, man. Yeah, I hear you. Like, one day at a time has been me all week long. I started writing this article last Sunday, or last Monday. And literally, I've worked on it for the entire week. And it's over here on Climate Viewer News. The title of it is The CIA, Weather Warfare, and Climate Terrorism. And literally all week long, I've been plugging away at this bad boy, trying to get it done. And it all revolves around a story where Alan Robach said, hey, these dudes from the CIA called me. And asked me if somebody was controlling the weather, would we know it? Literally, like, this thing is everywhere. It's been, you throw a stick on the internet, you're going to land on a page talking about this. And I read 90% of those articles while still working on mine, going, I really wanted to get my story out before everybody. I knew, I've known about this story since 2013. Screw it, I want to be thorough, man. I want to be as thorough as possible because this one really, really matters, and it's all about proving a point. So, I plugged away at it all week long. The server, climateviewer.com, has been rock solid, for 3 years. I've had some bumps, but literally, like, I started writing this thing Monday or Tuesday, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, even today, our server has encountered many very unique catastrophic failures. I've rebooted the server probably 20 times while trying to write this freaking article. The article ended up being 9 pages, which is kind of, I think, might be a record for me on a nerd out, but holy crap, man. I mean, literally, like, all week long, Bill, I've been, I'd go in, I'd write a little bit, and then the damn thing would die on me. And I'd have to, like, cache save, like, grab the thing, throw it in the text doc. Anyway, don't want to bore you with all the details. But regardless, I pressed on, and I got the damn thing wrote. And I went ahead and published it earlier today because I was going to do a hangout earlier today. But by the time I got it actually published, my eyes were burnt out of the sockets, from the RF radiation. Like, I felt like I'd been on a beach for 9 hours. So I put a cold press on and just went ahead and hit publish. So I will be editing this, over the next week to clean up a couple loose ends. But by and large, it's right on the money. So, Bill, I don't know what we're going to do. Hopefully it will not go down again. But, at the very least, this is on YouTube for now, and we'll make sure that the server comes back up shortly. So what I did was I went ahead, just in case the server goes down while we're live, I went ahead and opened all damn 9 pages in my browser right here, so we will not be experiencing any interruptions. Needless to say, Bill, it's been a crazy week, bro.
I feel you, brother. I'm thinking to myself, and I'm wondering how much your server issues has to do with this article you've been working on and posted. Because I've been reading through it and it's some pretty damaging stuff.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna play that card. I'm just saying that it is coincidental, to say the least, that we've been encountering so many issues. So I don't know. Let's not focus on that that conspiracy, and let's focus on these cold hard facts. You want me to do it pretty quick, Bill? Stop me if you feel like you need to stop me, or if I'm running out of breath, please.
All right.
All right.
Got you covered.
Okay, so basically, Alan Robach says, I got a phone call from two men who said they were consultants for the CIA, and we'd like to know if some other country was controlling our climate, would we know about it? And he said, if it was pretty large, change, then yeah. And that's somewhat true. It's somewhat true. I'm gonna just I'm not going to bore you to tears with all the details. I wrote the article. It's 9 pages. If you really care, you're going to read every intimate detail of this, because it's all 100% provable fact. You could take it to court. You could write it on your back, and it'll be the truth 50 years from now. So here's the truth, just the facts. And this isn't said in any other article on the internet. So, dear CIA, we cannot detect rogue geoengineering with today's best atmospheric sensors. Now, some of you might be scratching your head. What is rogue geoengineering? When Russ George dumped a bunch of rust into the ocean, it was called ocean iron fertilization. Basically, he was dumping rust into the ocean to make algae grow, and the algae would eat CO2. So that's called carbon sequestration. But also, the algae would bring more fish back to their island, which are being stolen by these massive corporate fishing conglomerates. So they dubbed him the rogue geoengineer, because he basically didn't get permission from the powers that be to do that. And the Convention for Biological Diversity, plus there's some laws of the sea involved. It's a no-no. Geoengineering legally is still a no-no. So they dubbed him the rogue geoengineer. Well, anyway, rogue geoengineering means somebody who decided to geoengineer the planet without the permission from the powers that be. And the fact remains, if somebody were to be geoengineering the skies today, and I don't know if you've looked at the internet lately, a whole lot of people think that, there's no way to tell. There's no way to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, because basically the sensors we have today cannot tell the difference between what's a man-made intervention and what's nature. Okay? So what you got going on here is, at the 20th Conference on Planned and Inadvertent Weather Modification, at the American Meteorological Society and Weather Modification Association, for those who aren't familiar with this, every single year the AMS does a whole series on weather modification. It's sponsored by the Weather Modification Association. It's hosted at the AMS. This one was in Phoenix. It was in January of this year, the 4th through 8th. By the way, that was on our timeline at climateviewer.com, actually over at theweathereffect.com. It's at the top of the timeline. We told everybody about this thing. It turns out over there they had a great paper where they said potential detection of engineered increases in reflected sunlight. And basically, so that we don't get too techy, they said a fundamental scientific question is whether an engineered increase in reflectivity, albedo, either from short-term duration field experiments or from prolonged implementation of SRM schemes, would be detectable with the current global climate observing system. Would they be able to detect it? And the answer is, in summary, although very large albedo increases, that means reflectivity, that means how much they've geoengineered the sky. If you really did it, they are potentially detectable. So even there, in their own scientific jargon, they say, although very I mean, monstrously huge geoengineering projects, we would notice that. They don't even say we would know this, notice that. They say they are potentially noticeable with the best sensors we have on the planet. And trust me, I've mapped them all at Climate Viewer 3D. They don't have that cool of toys. It's kind of sad. So, and then they go on to say, and here's some more jargon for you. Interannual albedo variability overwhelms the maximum conceivable increases associated with the leading proposed SRM schemes. So they can't tell the difference between nature and man-made interventions with the best sensors out there. So there's no red light, green light, ooh, somebody's modifying the weather here. Hey, weather team, go! Go put them in jail. There's none of that. What do you think about that, Bill?
I'm speechless at this point.
So, yeah, and for those who don't, believe it, you can go right here. I went to this, paper, and I downloaded the presentation. I uploaded it to my YouTube, so you can sit here and go through the lazy mode and actually watch it, and she'll explain it all. Could we detect SRM attempts? Boy, that was a lucky click. Did you see that, Bill?
Yes, sir.
Skills, man, skills. Detection of SRM albedo changes required to evaluate the efficacy of experiments and deployments. Attribute changes to the surface climate to SRM. So can we actually say that it's cooling over Texas? Or is it heating over Texas? Is because I hear a lot of people talk, it's so damn hot in LA, like the sun is just being reflected down at us. I don't know.
Well, let me ask a question here. Kind of, I think, hopefully related. In Australia, they had two major cyclones, one a Category 5, and I can't remember what the other one was. Dumped a lot of rain, a lot of damaging winds and things. But before these things hit Australia, there was this huge, I don't know, radar plume that, I mean, was the bottom of Australia, went all the way to Tasmania and a couple of other places. I mean, it was literally huge. Would that be something of an indicator of something coming?
When was this?
Just the last couple of days.
Wasn't during that big CME, was it?
It was before that, because
I don't know. We'll have to look at the map. Like, just when we get off air, I'll take a look at it and we'll go put it on Climate Viewer 3D and see what is in the area. You never know who's farting out big EMF ripples.
Sorry, didn't mean to get you sidetracked.
Oh no, don't ever be sorry. Love sidetracks. You know me. I'll drive down a sidetrack all damn night until somebody says turn the heck around.
My thought and question being is when somebody observes something like that, I mean, is there a possibility if something is being done to modify the weather?
That is why I initially built Climate Viewer 3D. So there's this guy, Dutch Sense, on YouTube, and I watched his videos, and he talked a lot about how they use radars to manipulate the weather. So I built a program to overlay NASA layers with satellite images and real-time data so that I could catch them. I mean, just in a nutshell, so I could catch them, and I could go, I got that son of a bitch. Look, they had the thing, and the thing was on, and I checked the magnetometer, and the freaking cloud went this way, and oh my God, here's the video. Hooray!
Right.
I really, really thought that, by now I would have caught somebody, but the truth of the matter is I built it, and then I was kind of like, I'm so busy with Climate Viewer 3, news and, trying to do these articles and organize crap and get other people on the site. And, you get so lost in it all, Bo.
Yeah. Getting back to your CIA article, I think it's very interesting and informative, and it's frightening in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, because in the end, for all the crap that people talk about the chemtrailers, they're right. I mean, what are you going to say about that? Honestly, you can't. Let's put it this way: you can't prove them wrong. I mean, so you might as well shut up, because there really is no actual testing of what's going on up there. There's nobody really even looking. And now you got the CIA over here. It's been spread on a dozen billion websites. Everybody's talking little tidbits and nuggets of shit they read on, my timeline 2 years ago. I saw somebody mention the Storm King, Espy, and all that. I was just like, arr. Anyway, it's kind of laughable. I mean, the whole story's there. We know what's going on. And it's time for them to take this shit seriously. It's time for what we've been talking about in this community to be respected, because we're not just paranoid. I mean, we got history on our side. We know how crazy it was before. Anybody that looks into NMOD, I go straight to that. Dear CIA, you cannot detect it. So even if you guys are trying to plan to protect yourself from Russia steering a hurricane into DC or New York, kind of like Hurricane Sandy, if you really think you're going to be able to detect when they're doing it, then you better, screw your, head on or something. You better go do some reading, apparently, or just wake the F up. I saw a good video where somebody literally said, if the CIA is saying that, then it's got to be a disinfo campaign.
Right.
Like there's some other flip side to this.
Well, the thing that I find interesting about this is that a lot of powerful government agencies are becoming involved. They're doing research. They're asking questions, and controlling the weather is going to be a major issue, either for welfare or warfare, and or controlling a group or population of people.
Yeah, it's true, dude. And like the number of organizations involved, by the time we're on page 9 here, you guys are gonna know the whole story. We're gonna do this all tonight, and it's gonna be all in one video, and you're gonna be able to share it with whoever you ever meet and say, please sit down and take the time to understand that this stuff is true, and there's something needs to be done about it. So I go straight to weak laws. Hostile modifications of the environment were banned in 1978. That's called the NMOD ban. And I've got a little section I'm working on. It's over at climateviewer.com/facts. You can see it now. I'm basically taking the stuff from my 3 research timelines and combining them all into one spot so that I can really flesh them out. So here's an example. NMOD passed in 1978 as a response to the U.S. military's illegal use of cloud seeding over the Ho Chi Minh Trail in Vietnam. Damn, that was a mouthful. Yeah, they lied about the weather warfare in Vietnam. And I've got, if you look at this page over here, it's some pretty interesting stuff. This comes from Project Sunshine again. I'm really finding some interesting nuggets on that deleted website, Bill. Have you looked at that Project Sunshine website yet?
I've been watching it. I've been browsing through it, but I really haven't been in depth with it yet.
It's nuts. You actually have to do some reading in there, people. I'm not going to read this stuff to you, but whoa. So
well, you talk about the weather control during Vietnam. Look at the weather control and the cloud seeding during Woodstock.
Yeah, you know what? I could have thrown that one in there. I should just stuff the whole thing full. But anyway, on this thing here,
that's why I throw that in there.
They basically have where the U.S. military lied under oath in Congress before they got busted, and there's a whole lot. It's right here, Brothers in Denial, and the links are the references at the bottom. Very phenomenally interesting reading, but it's very telltale of what's going on today because, basically they're going to deny everything to the bitter end. So even if you drag these guys into court and say you were doing weather warfare, they're going to deny because they did it before. And even though there's an international law banning weather warfare and hostile modifications to the environment, there's no way to tell. So my point of everything I'm doing right now is that I've written a draft legislation to make sure that that part happens. So there's a law saying that it's illegal. I want to know when they're doing it. And we're going to get through all that as we progress through this article, but I mentioned it at the beginning and the end. So it's called the Clarity Clause. take a click on that bad boy and you'll see what I mean. So the point of all this is, this is national security. This is a serious national security threat. Wake up, Homeland Security. Wake up, Air Force. Every single military branch should take this seriously. I would think.
Very much so.
So that brings us to page 2. Let's just close those out. The Climate Intelligence Agency. So I don't know if you guys know about this, but right here on this link says back in July 2013. This is the Google Geoengineering group. If you don't listen to anything else I do, I want you to go right now to this group. It's in the links. Come up here. You can see this was posted July, what was it? Yeah, July 17th, 2013. So I was in the geoengineering group over here heckling these fellas, about this CIA thing. CIA backed $630,000 study on how to control the weather. And I went over there and I said to Ken Caldera and the geoengineers, so much for transparency. Will geoengineering become national security and thus hidden under classified stamps? Has any member of this group been approached by the CIA or NAS, or are you not at liberty to say? And I said, and then I encouraged the scientists. I said, I have been hopeful that this community would embrace open discussion and sincerely hope that whatever comes of this study remains open to the public. And then I went and dumped a whole bunch of links of where the study comes from, and there's the funding number for it. Anyway, so all this is recorded, and then under that, Mick West. Oh, some of you guys know Mick West. He's the chemtrail. He is the chemtrail Darth Vader. That's what I've been calling him lately. Chemtrail Darth Vader. He's a debunker. He came in and he says, well, as you can see right here, the CIA opens a Center for Climate Change and National Security. And that's cute. But what's written, and I kind of quoted that here, Mick West, responded. And I just want to show you that these quotes are all real. So there, we're done with that. But if you guys come over here to the Geoengineering Forum, make sure you click on Geoengineering here at the top, and then subscribe to this bad boy. Get yourself in this group. Where else can you go see every geoengineering scientist debate and get really heated? Oh man, there's some rage in there, guys. Go look. Anyway, so Mick West said that the CIA opened their center in 2009. Well, he failed to mention that they closed the climate change office in 2012. Isn't that weird, Bill?
Wow.
So 2013, they funded some studies. Just recap, or excuse me, yeah. 2013, they funded some studies, and this year, all of that comes out, and everybody's raising hell everywhere. So it's to be expected, especially when Alan Robot comes out and is like, some CIA dudes called me up asking if mofos be controlling the weather, and clearly the answer is we wouldn't have a freaking clue. So anyway, some more details on the CIA thing, and how basically Republican representative shut it down, and he's like, I don't get it, but basically they said that it was about national security. This is all about national security, and we're going to move the CIA. It says this work continues to be performed by a dedicated new team in a new office. So the CIA is still doing it. They're just doing it out of a different office. It's not called the climate change office over there. And yeah. Anyway, moving along. I've got the actual National Academy of Science CIA funded report here and here. This is CDR. This is SRM, Solar Radiation Management. They're lengthy. They're for the nerds. You have to sign up to be able to read it. I read it. Bill, it's kind of funny. You should read it, really.
Cool. I will give it my attention.
And then over here, the DC Geoengineering Consortium, they've got the mass media coverage of those reports. So here's like all the different quotes, that are going around, and some of these are just pricelessly funny. I mean, they just totally elite science panel calls U.S. study to calls on U.S. to study climate modification. I mean, literally, like this is, report, don't try to block the sun or fix climate change, National Journal. I mean, this is like stomping fire mad and hellfire brimstone shit over in the geoengineering world. And I'm loving it. You know what I mean? I'm just loving it. I'm like, Alan Robach, boy, you know how to throw a brick.
And we're supposed to believe what the mass media tells us anyway, right?
Yeah, totally right. So, so for the rest of the CIA part here, the geoengineers respond, and here's and this is just absolutely priceless. And I've been writing this article, so I haven't been able to go post my response, but I'm going to get my response in here. He who laughs last. Isn't that how it goes, Bill? So, chill factor at CIA weather query. This is where it broke. This is when, all the nerds around, gotta get a like, posted quick, don't do any research, copy paste world. They all covered it, February 14th when it came out. And, I've been sitting here working my tail off trying to get my whole story together because there's way more to it than any of these fools have written down. That's horrible. That's so horrible. You devote so much time and you just feel like, God, nobody really understands. But we're going to make you understand today. So over here at the Geoengineering Forum, you got Alan Robach himself, man of the hour. All right, Andrew, I'm going to break it down for you guys so you guys know all the cool kids in the geoengineering world. Andrew J. Lockey is the forum admin, all right? This is him right here. I like this guy. Genuinely do. Got him in 2 circles. He is the mod for the forum that all the geoengineering scientists are in. And according to him, Ken Caldera owns this forum. He created this group. So this group was created by Ken Caldera to be transparent. Pretty cool, right? I mean, I didn't know that. I mean, that was the first thing that struck me as cool. I was like, okay, so they're not completely, utterly evil, or they just want one place to put all their disinfo, right? So here's Alan Robach, and it says, "Dear Mick." What was there a Mick West response in here that got deleted? Oh, there was at MickWest.com. There you go. So Alan Robach responds to Mick. The Daily Mail. Mick must have came in and said, "This has got to be BS." And then Alan goes, "No, Mick, it's actually true. But you might also be interested in this." And sends him a link. And then Ken Caldera comes in, and this is freaking priceless. I'm not going to read all the rest of it. You can go read the rest yourself if you're really into this stuff. And I'm sure you're going to love it. But anyway, Ken Caldera responds, "Based on the history of our intelligence agencies' involvement in secret kidnappings and torture, killing non-combatants with drones, spying on telecommunications, etc., we can take it as a given that secret U.S. governmental organizations will engage in criminal behavior." Right. Is that priceless, Bill? I laughed so freaking hard when I read that. So, Ken Caldera, ladies and gentlemen, I wish we could get a round of applause. I don't know how to work this thing good enough yet. Woohoo! So he goes on to say, he says, so we can take it as a given that secret U.S. governmental organizations will engage in criminal behavior. All right? That's brilliant. He's a conspiracy guy. However, we should be entirely clear. And then as you can see, he bolded this shit in and put his yellow marker all over it. So he really, really, really wants people to understand this. So I'm going to read it for you, Ken. There is absolutely no evidence that any U.S. intelligence agency has any interest in climate intervention for anything other than defense-related informational purposes. Furthermore, there is no plausible scenario in which climate intervention could be used effectively as a weapon. I mean, is this dude delusional? I mean, is this dude? Come on, Ken, because I know he's better than that. Anyway, I'm going to finish reading what he said. So he says that there is no plausible scenario in which climate intervention could be used effectively as a weapon. I don't know, Bill. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill. Bill, would you say that steering a hurricane could be used as a weapon?
Yes, definitely.
I would tend to agree.
And this sidetracks a little bit. I go back to Hurricane Katrina. I watched the pattern of that when it developed and how it traveled through, the Gulf of Mexico, and then it finally ended up where it ended up. And I'm looking at all of the other issues to that area with Bayou Corn and all of these other things, and there seems to be, in my opinion, something going on to clear that area of population, because there seems to be something there somebody wants.
You make an excellent point there, Bill. There is a lot of coincidences happening around Louisiana. I'll have to look into that. Interesting. Don't throw me off the. Oh, don't throw me off.
Sorry. It's intra-related, but not directly.
You're completely correct, though, I think. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of oil down there, and they want to be able to frack every square inch of that, too. So I'm sure they'd love for everybody to just move and get the hell out of the way so they could just destroy the rest of it.
And what better way to get them out of the way than weather modification?
Yeah, exactly. So so this is, real over here. This is the real deal. This is where you can actually go and talk to Ken Caldera and all the scientists, but you have to be polite and, don't go in there and call them a bunch of psychos or anything. You probably won't get posted. But so while I share Alan's contempt for the criminal behavior of our secretive governmental agencies, I do not think it is helpful to speculate that in this instance, the agencies are looking for new ways that they might inflict suffering on others. So, in a nutshell, he says that they're all the U.S. three-letter agencies, 3- and 4-letter agencies. They only are interested in controlling the weather for, quote, defense-related informational purposes, and there is no plausible scenario where climate intervention could be effectively used as a weapon. Bro, you're plausibly delusional, and we're going to prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt in this one article. And I said over here, I completely disagree with dude, and I say why, and I say how, and then we're on to page 3. So, yeah, what do you think, Bill? Is the dude nuts?
I'm inclined to believe that. I don't want to,
so
I don't have all of the facts, so I'm going to reserve my opinion at this point.
Do you think the military is controlling the weather, trying to?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I mean, what about the article, the Air Force will control the weather by 2025 or something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that an indication that they're working on it?
I think you're absolutely correct, Bill. And let's go right to that. Let's actually start before that. See, if you don't know the whole story, Air Force 2025 and Weather 2025 just aren't as interesting. Now, everybody that talks about weather control eventually ends up mentioning the paper Owning the Weather in 2025. We're going to get to that right after this. This is what I believe caused that, the discussion of it. These two documents prove, and I do mean prove, they're FOIAs. These are Freedom of Information Act requests, which I obtained from the Sunshine Project. God, I'm loving that website, dude. And you can go over here and see this. Let's go show it since I've mentioned it twice. This is at web.archive.org, and I've linked it back. This is from 2008, and you can see up here it says NMOD, and if you click on NMOD, I believe, it'll do this. So they've hacked this portion of it, okay? It's so tacky, dude. I mean, all their little games. So you just click right over here, and you bring that back, and now the top stays the same, but you actually have one that works. So by default, it doesn't work, but you come over here, then you can see download the things, and all this other good stuff on Nmod that we mentioned earlier. But yeah, dude, two FOIAs, one from the Navy, one from the Air Force, both mentioning carbon black dust weather modification. What do you think about that, Bill?
Carbon black. It's a serious health hazard for people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's so they talk about it from they complain about it from coal plants and all that stuff.
They're putting coal plants out of business so they don't do it, but yet they're going to use it to modify the weather. Explain that one.
Yeah, does that make something? Does that make any sense?
Not to me.
Pad, yes, I do recognize the chat room. It's hey man, I'm new at this, bro. This is Tony. This is so live. Oh my god. The chat room's like, are you gonna mention us by name? Because I'm trying to plan what I'm about to say, and I'm kind of freaking exhausted. It's been a long week of people hacking my fucking server, and I wrote a 9-page article. So love you guys in the chat room, mean it. That is a co-intel bullshit show. Which show? Because it clearly isn't this one. Because if you can debunk any of this shit right here, I dare you to. Post the links at the bottom. There's a comment section. All of this 100% fact, backed up by links. And SiteLock malware free. So there is no viruses on the whole damn website. So, there you go. There you go. Weather modification. This is at China Lake, California. And China Lake is kind of like the, how would you say? It's kind of like the Area 51 of weather modification in the, in California, in the Navy world. So let's go take a peek at that. I'll bring that up real quick. China Lake, CA. And there you go. And here's the base. And it's out in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, so this is the place mentioned in the FOIA. As you can see, they've got a really big airfield in the middle of nowhere. Bill. And they're talking about doing, there you go, Indian Wells, Ridgecrest, China Lake Acres. Interesting stuff. So that's what the FOIA is talking about. Warhead Development Branch of the NAWCWPNS. And literally, dude, this is about something called non-lethal warfare. I went and I put the actual whole FOIA over here, so you can see that as well. I just got a screenshot. If you click it, it'll take you to my script. But yeah, real as real can be, dude. And in this one, he describes, determined state of the art, 1 to 2 man years. So this is posted. This is 1994. It says it would take 1 to 2 years to determine the state of the art. 1994. What happened in 1995 and 96? Owning the weather. I don't know. Maybe that's a gamble there. But if this paper was written in 94, and they say do a 1 to 2 year man study to determine the state of the art in weather modification so that they can, use it for military purposes. And it says the application of weather modification requires suitable meteorological conditions and therefore has that operational limitation. I know of no countermeasures. You know what I mean? Seriously.
Wow.
So, I mean, this is as serious as, it gets right here. And then over on the Air Force side, they've got the same thing with the actual budget laid out. Here you go. And they're talking about carbon black dust being dumped into the air, from the military. This is from the U.S. Air Force Phillips Laboratory, Geophysics Directorate. Fact.
Wow.
So we can't even deny those points that the military is still engaged. At least the United States military is still engaged in studying weather modification. Then we have the weather, the owning the weather paper that everybody knows about. It's been mentioned so many places. You can go see, all the links are here in the references, and they showed the use of carbon black dust again. See that right here, Bill?
I see it.
Carbon black dust by the year 2005. Star CBD. It says a star. The star says technologies to be developed by the Department of Defense. So they're going to develop the technology for carbon black dust weather modification by 2005. 2005 was the year Hurricane Katrina practically destroyed that, town. So that whole state, for that matter. So that's the point I'm trying to make here. This is not, these are some very strange coincidences. Okay? 2 FOIA docs mention carbon black dust, one from the Navy, one from the Air Force. Then you go to Air Force 2025. Right there, they have a chart of the future, application to weather modification. WXMod means weather modification. And then they go on to mention their, global network of sensors that will allow them to control the weather on the whole planet. Pretty huge stuff there, Bill.
Definitely.
And, they act like they don't know. What, the CIA never read it?
Well, everything seems to be compartmentalized. The right hand don't know what the left hand is doing, but I don't really believe that in this case.
That is completely possible. But I don't know, dude. I don't think so. I think that they're playing dumb. I really do. I think that they're playing dumb when they talk to the guy, talking to Alan. But I don't know. We won't be the judge of that. We'll just move on with the story. So, where are my pictures? Cannot have a breakdown. There we go. So, on this one, owning the weather meets reality. After the owning the weather papers, all the debunkers, all the people who are into this stuff, none of them mention this. Now, I found this paper on the Wayback Machine again. Thank you, archive.org. And it was on a Army military URL. So it was army.mil. And it's called the Test Technology Symposium 97 Weather Modification. In that presentation by Dr. Arnold Barnes of the Phillips Lab, okay, we just talked about the FOIA from the Phillips Lab. This is after owning the weather. You've got the Phillips Lab has a doctor presenting at a joint Air Force Army symposium, and they go ahead and mention specifically in bold weather modification using carbon black dust again. Then they go on to list the stuff from owning the weather for why they would do it: muddy dirt roads, flood fields and rivers, decreased troop comfort level. All the shit they did in Vietnam that they got in trouble for, that is illegal, is banned because of INMOD, they're planning to do it again.
And they're still working on developing it.
Slide number 2, weather modification using carbon black. Increase cirrus cloud cover. Are you fucking, excuse me, are you shitting me? They're talking about chemtrails, people. Increase cirrus cloud cover. Why would they want to make chemtrails? Why would the military want to make chemtrails, Bill?
For offensive and defensive purposes.
To deny visual satellite or high altitude reconnaissance. Planes flying over staring at Area 51, cover it in clouds. To decrease light level for nighttime operations. I never thought of that.
And there goes Google Maps, right?
Yeah, so all of a sudden Google's, satellite, mini sats coming over, plane, drone, whatever they got this week, is coming over to take pictures. They throw up some clouds real quick. Nobody ever gets a clean shot. Yeah, all that stuff. Pretty crazy, right?
Yep.
Military, what do you do with them? And then in their final slide, they sum it all up. And they say, what is our current capabilities? All right. Major improvements in short-term forecast by 2010. We're there now. This was written 1997. Current capabilities 1997. Fog dispersal. Local changes in precipitation. That's cloud seeding. Cloud modification for surveillance coverage. Hole boring. Create, suppress, cirrus, contrails. I put a big red line next to that because that's what everybody's looking for. Is the military making contrails or chemtrails or whatever you want to call them? Yes, they in fact bragged about it at a joint Army Air Force meeting after owning the weather, talking about owning the weather. I don't know, man. Pretty freaking coincidental. And then they go on right under that, and what do they say? Ionospheric modification. HAARP. Ionospheric heaters. They mentioned that too. This is 1997. HAARP was still a baby then. But they mentioned it because they were doing it then.
And now they have HAARP devices all over the world, but on a smaller scale, but can do the same thing.
Yeah, they're like they're mobile. They got them in trailers. They're called Mirage. They got them on a barge. It's called the Strawman High Frequency Array. All that's covered in an article on if you click on Space Weather Control on climateviewer.com, you can go to an article that says HAARP on a boat.
Yeah, I've seen that article, and I've seen a lot of those pictures related to that. So you never know where it's going to be.
It's true. So yeah, they go on to brag about ionospheric heaters, and that just brings up the old quote unquote. So we might as well throw this one in here. Others are engaged even in an eco type of terrorism whereby they can alter the climate, set off earthquakes, volcanoes remotely through the use of electromagnetic waves.
Well,
bad Black Fox.
Getting away from CIA, doesn't that bring in the Chicago Mercantile when he's giving this kind of statement?
Oh, we're going to get there, baby. We're going to talk about weather derivatives in just a second.
Okay.
And everybody's heard this quote. This comes from Terrorism, Weapons of Mass Destruction, and U.S. Strategy. Sam Nunnery Policy Forum, 97. So, people like to take these little things and just throw them in the ocean and say, "Oh, that's completely debunkable." You know what I mean? But this is to be taken, damn it, seriously from now on. Anybody watches this video, if you're a lawyer, if you're interested in doing something about this, please approach me. I will gladly bend over backwards and give you every bit of my research so that you can really let the window open, bring some air in the house.
Well, another issue that people are not paying attention to, they're not following the money.
I would really agree with you on that, Bill. Because in the end, even with this space weather, ionospheric modification, do you know what it's really all about? In my opinion, it's about real estate. Because they have junked up space so bad that they're really running out of places to put stuff, Bill. I mean, how much do you know about that stuff? Space junk.
There's quite a bit. And, I look at the stuff that's on Climate Viewer, and I follow the junk, the active stuff, and whatnot. And, I mean, my God, it's a mess up there. It is totally frightening with all of the stuff that's in orbit. It's just amazing how much stuff is up there. And that's not just from the U.S. government. It's from Russia. It's from China. It's from anybody that wants to put something up in our atmosphere, up in the stratosphere.
Yeah, and there's no regulation of any of it. And that goes right back to what we said at the beginning. Rogue geoengineering, completely undetectable. If somebody's dumping something in the sky, you'll never know. You'll be the last to know. So they're really the illusion of protection that, we spend all these tax dollars on defense. They couldn't protect us at 9/11. They couldn't protect us at the Boston bombing. They can't protect you from another, shooting in a school, and they can't protect you from some lunatic deciding to pick up an axe and hit you in the head. You have got to be able to protect yourself. But
You'll
from
know
this
about the
one,
space junk when it falls on you.
yeah, but from this one, Bill, I think they can protect us. You know,
Well,
this
yeah,
is one that you
isn't
might want to get involved in. I know you
isn't that what
suck
the
at border
space
defense and, you know, everything else you do. But
isn't what that
please,
what the space fence is purportedly being
that's what
developed
the
for?
space fence is supposed to be doing. Ronald Reagan's Star Wars Defense Initiative is now called the Space Fence. But that's another use for the HAARP ionospheric heater technology is detection of missiles. Alana Freeland has a great book. You should check it out, and it's on just that topic. It's about the space fence and how they're ionizing the atmosphere to do all kinds of crazy stuff. Anyway, her book's called Chemtrails, HARP, and the Full Spectrum Dominance of Planet Earth. And you guys have got to check it out. But yeah, the space fence has a lot to do with the reasons and the motivations of these people to dominate not only the troposphere but the ionosphere and any other sphere they decide to put their hands in.
Wow. Now, how does what is it, Project Bluebeam, fit into all of this? Or I'm not sure of the name of it.
I'm not sure. Like I've read all those documents. I don't know of the reality of them, but it seems completely plausible. They even mentioned it in the Air Force 2025 documents. They got a picture of an F-117 stealth fighter shooting holographic beams out of the bottom of it, generating holographic pictures in the sky, like I don't know, UFOs or Allah.
And all these unmanned spacecraft they've been putting up in atmosphere, and the things that they're doing, seems to be related to the Project Bluebeam issue. And what can they create from space to modify the weather?
I have no idea.
Well, I don't either, but it's a question.
Well, all I know is that they've been trying to destroy the ionosphere since 1950. I mean, they tried to nuke it to death, wouldn't go away. They did the Project Westford needles where they dumped 230 million copper antennas into space. Most of those, rained out. They're all over the North Pole in the ice. Some of them are still up there floating around today.
Wow.
It's insane. Then they went on a chemical dumping spree where they dumped barium clouds and strontium clouds in space for 50 years without anybody ever knowing it.
And NASA's been recently doing the tests with lithium gas in the atmosphere.
Yeah, the Atrex experiments out of Wallops. Yeah, all of that stuff, dude. Those sounding rockets, Black Brant rockets, they've been doing it for way longer. They have the CRES, CRRES satellite with Arecibo was heating it. And this satellite would dump a barium cloud in space. And the barium would stick to the magnetic field lines so they could see the ionosphere. And then they would heat it with a microwave at Arecibo and, see what happened. This is back in the 80s,
Yeah, what about the methane issue and Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds kind of thing?
Oh, Lord, let's not even get into the geoengineering aspect of it all. To squash it into a nutshell, what he's talking about is they said that they could compress atmospheric methane with 3 radar beams. So, turning methane into diamond clouds that will reflect sunlight, noctilucent clouds. Crazy stuff. Crazy, crazy stuff. So, since you mentioned HAARP, and they mentioned ionospheric heaters, we go on to page 5. The HAARP effect. And this is where we want to get really serious about this stuff. Now, I know that a lot of people have heard a lot of crap about, the conspiracy theories associated with HAARP. Even, in fact, I mean, this is really a gamble, but I'll try to do this and type. Yeah. So I went on to the Geoengineering forum. This is March of 2013. And you can see right here, it says about King Caldera. Let's go to that. I believe this is the one. Okay, so I would like to extend blah, blah, blah. I made a timeline. Check it out. And this is I was showing the geoengineers my timeline, which is this. I'll show it to you too. since we're going to play along for a second. So I went and I showed Ken Caldera my geoengineering timeline. And basically this thing goes like this, these people were trying to melt the poles, for, X amount of years. They were trying to melt the poles, and then they decided to start, nuking the skies. And then they went, oh, God, we got to stop melting the poles. Let's do geoengineering. So it's a timeline. It's got references and dates. You could flip through it. All 100% facts. Referenced it on the geoengineering forums. Dr. Will Burns from the Washington Geoengineering Consortium stole my timeline and put it on Dippity.com, and then went on Ken's forum and bragged about it. It didn't even reference me or credit me. So, and that's also on this forum. You can go look at that. But anyway, we won't get into that. But the timeline's so accurate that a PhD dude from the Washington Geoengineering Consortium copy-pasted my timeline. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyway, over here, you can see, like, where is it? Here it is. A lot of what's on the timeline is about weather. So weather modification is an appropriate label. They're debating whether it should be called geoengineering timeline or weather control. They're scientists. This is what they do. Steven Salter's right here. Fred Zimmerman loved it. I like Fred. He's great people. All of these people are great people. Don't get me wrong. So Steven Salter goes, the use of the word weather rather than climate may annoy some people like you. And Ken's like, no, it's more about weather than that, so I think that's great. He says, as an academic, I'd like to see more academic literature in the timeline, and I would appreciate references to Boudico early. He says, the main concern is with the inclusion of what might be irrelevancies. For example, why is HARP important except for its relation to the conspiracy theories? So this is Ken Caldera going, I saw your timeline, but bro, why do you have HARP in there? So even he, Ken Caldera, acts like he doesn't know the first thing about, the HARP thing. And, that's crazy, right?
Yeah, in a lot of ways. I mean, HARP has many purposes, not just weather modification.
Yeah, to say that it's, it shouldn't be in there because, it's just a conspiracy theory. No. When they're talking about destroying the Van Allen belts, sucking radiation out of the sky, air glow, radiation belt remediation, creating elf waves, all that, very serious stuff. Right?
And wouldn't it affect the weather?
Yeah. So Ken Caldera said that. Anyway, I'm going to skip through this. If you go down here to the bottom, you'll see that I responded to Ken Caldera. All right? And I said, dude, you don't know about HARP? Check out this epic response from Jim Lee. This is freaking hilarious. Regarding Boudico, I told him, I said, if you can send me a link, I'll put it in my timeline. I do not ascribe to conspiracy theories. The fact is, HARP is modifying the climate in these ways. And I went and did all this. Look at this. Project Argus, artificial radiation belts, and this, and this, and this, this. This is still my response. All right? This is my response to Ken Caldera. Going, no, dude, and here's Bernard Eastland's whole freaking website, because you clearly haven't read it, and I even dug up the pictures that aren't even on archive.org and put them in there. So these are up permanently forever in Ken's forum. God bless you, Andrew Lockie, for posting that. So, yeah, I totally, phoned him. Anyway, it just shocks me, bro, that they act like they don't know. So, anyway, this is the Russian government, and this is about as serious as you can get. This is from, give me 1 second. This is the Russian Duma saying, quote, the U.S. plans to carry out large-scale scientific experiments under the HARP program and not controlled by the global community will create weapons capable of breaking radio communication lines and equipment installed on spaceships and rockets, so Star Wars, literally Star Wars, provoke serious accidents in electricity networks and in oil and gas pipelines. A whole bunch of pipelines have been blowing up in Iran from Stuxnet and possibly this.
There's been a whole lot of issues here in the United States and Canada the last.
Blowing up everywhere, Bo.
Yeah.
And then finally, have a negative impact on the mental health of people populating entire regions. And this is straight from the Russian government. This quote is available on fast.org. If you go over to our heart page, it's right here, Space Weather Control, references there. This is as serious as it gets. So not just, we're not a bunch of tinfoil hatters. This is the Russian government going, no, bro. Literally, they could be using this to, screw with people's brains. And
and the Russian government is probably working on something similar to what our CIA government, the Department of Defense, and all of that are, and God knows what China's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, so in a nutshell, there's the map, of all the different heaters of the world, and I summarize right here. U.S. military is actively engaged in. Here's all the crap they're doing with links to prove it, each step of the way, and this is the proof in the pudding. Dear CIA, the Russian military is engaged in weather modification, and you will not be able to detect it. When cloud seeding goes wrong, cement chunks fall from the sky. Have you heard this, Bill?
I've heard some small issues about it. I haven't paid much attention.
Yeah, so this is priceless. So basically, over in Russia, they were doing cloud seeding and they used concrete. Normally, they would fly up in their planes and they'd dump it out the back, in bags, and the bags would break up in midair and the dust would go everywhere and cause it to rain. The only problem is, one of their bags did not break open in midair and went through somebody's roof. So yeah, people think it's all just silver iodide and it's all just cool. And no, the governments really aren't involved. No, all of the governments are knee deep in this crap. That's what they do. They all want to control the weather for national security purposes. Now I'm going to try to fly through the rest of this bill, because there's like 6 more pages, and I want people to actually read this stuff. So I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. You know what I mean?
Cool.
So let me try to summarize. I'm going to take a sip. I have no sip. My wife took my sip. She snaked my sip, dude.
Wow.
There we go. So what this is really all about is climate change and national security. Climate change is a discussion about CO2. It's not a discussion about the problem, the causes of the root of the problem. They're all talking about crazy weather and possibly rising seas. That's really what they're really talking about. We're worried about crazy weather killing people or rising seas, covering up islands and stuff like that. And they blame it all on CO2. And I'm not going to try to get into some lengthy debate about whether CO2 is a cause or not. All I'm saying is that it is a straw man. The CO2 debate is a straw man because the actual problem is the lack of fresh water on the planet. We are running out. This is the actual national security concern that they all talk about that will lead to wars, that will lead to the water wars. Here's the quote: fresh water has been dubbed blue gold in many publications, as potable water will be to this century what oil was to the last century. All the weather modifiers, everybody involved in this thing, they know we're running out of water. Everybody's freaking out on how to control it. And all that we hear on the boob tube every day is about, CO2, carbon taxes, and all this crap. But as you can see here, the CIA report, since we're talking about the CIA, this is December 2000. By 2015, this is this year, nearly half the world's population, more than 3 billion people, will live in countries that are water stressed, have less than 1,700 cubic meters of water per capita per year, mostly Africa, the Middle East, South Asia, Northern China, and did I mention California? There are several dry counties in California and Texas. They're having to already bring in water to them. It's kind of horrible.
But yet they're going to do fracking in all of these areas, which then affects our natural water aquifers to cause a greater shortage of water. So there's the blue gold rush.
Yeah. And that's really what all this is about. In my opinion, it's about the lack of fresh water, all the people trying to control the water. And, so in the end, I believe that what's going on is kind of like a new Manhattan Project. I said it before in a couple of videos. I saw somebody coin that in an article where they basically used all my crap without ever mentioning me. So I like the phrase. I'll go with it. The old Manhattan Project, talked about it on the site, links in the details, but this new Manhattan Project is basically these geoengineering scientists who are talking about ways to coat the sky and reflective materials. They're working for the military whether they realize it or not. And that's really the point that they need to understand. Compartmentalization and what you're building will be used as a weapon whether you want to admit it or not, Ken Caldera. That's really the main concern there. And I got a great quote from James Roger Fleming, and he's got a video that'll briefly summarize, the history of weather control. He has excellent books. If you're really into weather modification, you have got to read his books. Fixing the Sky, start there. Very, very good books. So, I put it this way. So, how can we base so many forthcoming global climate change laws on the assertion that CO2 is causing weather extremes without first considering all the people hacking, zapping, gambling with, betting on, and steering our weather? And if you look at these links here, each one of these are lengthy articles on each of these topics. Zapping with HARP, hacking with cloud seeding, gambling with other cloud seeding technologies, and betting on with the weather derivatives. But we'll just go right to the weather derivatives and the betting on. Well, actually, I think we go to hurricane hacking right now. Here we go. Yeah. Nah, bro. Nobody's mad at you. Use a name. You can use whatever name you want. You can copy paste whatever you want because I really don't care about any of those issues. Love you in the chat, guys. So hurricane hacking. This is one that never gets mentioned. We're going to really make this point fast. Hurricane hacking is geoengineering. I don't know if you know that, but heads up, the geoengineer scientist, Ken Caldera specifically, is involved in geoengineering. So is the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. This is the U.S. Department of Homeland Security at the Conference for Weather Modification, 17th one, in 2008. And they mentioned, steering hurricanes. Now, the first hurricane contracts were sold on the CME Group's Chicago Mercantile Exchange. That's where they sell weather derivatives in 2007. 2008, Nathan Myhrvold the patent troll, Bill Gates, Ken Caldera, Stephen Salter, and John Latham, plus a whole bunch of other, Lawrence Livermore. All these guys got together and made a patent to steer hurricanes. So geoengineer Ken Caldera, John Latham from Silver Lining Project, all these guys got together to steer hurricanes. They're from the Department of Homeland Security's little initiative, and I've got a little timeline here. So it goes like this. Department of Homeland Security Hurricane Modification Workshop, followed up by Weather Modification Association Conference, where they talk about new unconventional concepts and legal ramification, har. Then they mention at that conference, HARP, steering hurricanes, and reducing hurricanes with pumps. All right, wait for that because that's what they're going to talk about at the conference. Weathering the storm. Then they had the U.S. Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, Tech, and Transportation hearing, Weathering the Storm, the need for a national hurricane initiative. So they took their patents and they took their studies from the Weather Mod conference, and they took their little study, their papers and notes from the DHS conference, and went to Congress and tried to get it funded. All right. Guess what happened? This was covered on InfoWars, and I tried to tell the moron, to get his story straight, but I won't mention his name. But he talked about how NOAA said no to the DHS mod. It's true. So Department of Homeland Security goes, NOAA, hey, we want to start modifying hurricanes because we want to prevent another Katrina. NOAA goes, no, we're not going to do that. And they cite Project Storm Fury, the hurricane stuff they did back in the day. You want to know why? Because they modified a hurricane out in the Gulf, and that son of a bitch turned around and hit Georgia. Did you know that, Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's nuts. So NOAA, they know a lot about weather. They said no to it. DHS, they're like, screw it, let's go ahead and do it. They got with NASA instead, and they went on and did the hurricane aerosol microphysics program, HAMP. And then the next year they did, or a little later, they did the Genesis and Rapid Intensification Process, GRIP, 2 studies using UAVs flying into hurricanes. Do you think they sprayed anything in them? That's the
Probably.
$1 million question. But they said they were going to. So we'll explore that right now. Where's my pictures? What's it
Well,
going to be like that?
I can't remember the one hurricane here a year or two ago. If you watch the satellite feeds, and it appeared to be what would be called chemical dumps. You could just see, the trails in the sky. Now, be it jet fuel or be it whatever it is, I don't know, but it all seems awfully coincidental.
Yeah.
And that's the one. That's the one that went up New Jersey. It was Hurricane Sandy, I think.
When was that? That was 2011, right?
Yeah, just a couple of years ago. Well, about 4 years ago now.
Well, excuse me. Oh, hold on one sec, Bill. Whew, throat just completely died on me.
I can't remember the woman's name, but she did quite an extensive video and cited satellite feeds and various other NASA and NOAA images, and showed all of these what appeared to be, and she called chemical dumps that followed the storm. And it seemed, by what she was saying, and I can't prove this, but it seemed to be steering the storm, and then, of course, did all the damage in New Jersey and, East Coast and some areas in lower New York.
Yeah, to Pat and the, oh my God, there's my dog. What's up, Chris? You can talk, bro. I hope you got your mic on. Anyway, that's Chris from Microwave Planet, everybody. Round of applause, Bill.
You want applause?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's get back to where we were real fast. What were we talking about? Okay, so here's what they planned, and I'm going to finish this page. Cloud seeding with sea salt, aerosol enhanced, blah, blah, blah. Cloud seeding with boats that suck sea spray and spray it up in the clouds to reflect sunlight. So Stephen Salter and John Latham's boat, they want to use it to spray seawater into the hurricanes to cool them off. Also, they want to take Stephen Salter's little tube that sucks, takes water from the surface and pumps it down into the ocean. Here's a video of that conference, and you can see, basically this is Sheila Aliens originally, I think, but no, this is from Harold Save, actually, and you can see the actual Homeland Security thing here. He even talks about Jay Cohen. But yeah, this is Department of Homeland Security really screwing with it. It says right here, other large-scale geoengineering proposals to mitigate hurricanes. Okay. Geoengineering proposals to mitigate hurricanes have price tags estimated in the multiple billions. Okay? Now, big money steering hurricanes, they call it geoengineering. So to all the geoengineers out there saying that they're not doing field tests of geoengineering, you're full of it. You're absolutely full of it. And next page. We got one to go after this. So gambling with the weather. Chicago Mercantile Exchange discusses weather derivatives. This is the guy explaining it himself. Here's some history of the weather derivatives. Got a nice little infographic for you, and you can see this started around 99, and then up here around 2007. Here's that launch of the hurricane contracts, and betting hard on the weather, stockbrokers, event contracts, and weather risk properties, and all that kind of like. Really crazy stuff.
A lot of money being made off the weather.
Yeah. Andrew, Weather Mafia in chat, he is absolutely 100% correct. Comes from rockets. Aluminum comes from rockets. I will pull it up here over on the sidebar and try to get that up for you a second and talk at the same time. So right here, weather derivatives and Hurricane Sandy. Hurricane Sandy puts spotlight on weather derivatives market. Big money, people. Big,
Well,
big money in these CME Group hurricane contract regions. Pretty nuts, right?
exactly. I mean, millions of money made off weather, made off the damage from the weather, rebuilding, tearing down infrastructure. Uh, my God. So, yeah, a lot of money being made off of modifying the weather.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, you got me distracted with the aluminum thing. Um, yeah, the insurance companies involved in this, you really have to look into how all this stuff works. But these event contracts and event derivatives, weather derivatives, the insurance companies are, betting on the weather. The crop and farmers, they pay the insurance companies to make sure that their crops don't get leveled by hail. The insurance company does not want to pay the crop guy, pay out. So they pay a small amount of money to some guys who go up and do hail mitigation. They're cloud seeding in the sky to get rid of hail, while some other dude right next to them is trying to make it rain. While another dude is trying to make it a clear day so somebody can have a wedding, believe it or not. Link at the end of the article. So, tug of war in the skies, people betting on all of it, just couldn't get any crazier. It sounds like weather warfare to me. What do you think, Bill?
Definitely. I think there's a bigger picture here, but I can't connect the dots yet.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do with this article, is really try to connect the dots. This picture, it's at the top of each article, or each page. There's like 9 pages. I try to break it up so it doesn't destroy anybody's browser when they load it. But it shows the same picture at the top. I'm probably going to change this later. I just threw it in because I was exhausted. But this picture is a good one. Mosh Alamaro from MIT, Moshe Alamaro, he's proposed, using, guess what? Soot. Carbon black. I keep saying this, and I'm going to keep saying it till other people start talking about it, because I've yet to hear anybody mentioning or even discussing the use of carbon black. But you dump soot into a hurricane, and the sun heats the black, just like your black car heats up and will burn your butt if you sit on it, and that steers it away. See, 1, 2, 3, simple as can be. That's the way they think. But anyway, so Department of Homeland Security, by the way, Mosh Alamaro was at the DHS thing discussing just this thing and putting oil on the freaking ground to make it steer. But anyway, these guys are nuts. It's really all about the Benjamins, baby. $150 billion a year.
That's what I
What?
say. Follow the money, and you can begin to figure it out.
Damn, Pat. That's awesome. Yeah, big money. So this is the story I like to tell. The truth about weather warfare is it boils down to water, money, and control. The sky is like a lake. Many people use the lake for different purposes, like swimming, fishing, boating, tubing, diving, drinking, or even fracking. The sky is no different. Our unregulated skies are used for precipitation enhancement, which is cloud seeding, snowpack augmentation, hail mitigation, hurricane mitigation, and military operations.
Fog dispersion.
Fog dispersion. Hole boring. I could have gone on. I was really exhausted by the time I got to page 9. And there's a couple things I left off here, which I'd like to bring up. But yeah, dude, this is, and then I try to make a point with this example here. Every square foot of the west side of the Rocky Mountains is covered in orographic cloud seeding generators, gas-powered weather modification stations that spew silver iodide all winter long. See? That's a picture on.
Yep.
And this is a solar panel to power this piece of, toxic. Anyway, silver iodide, we won't get into the toxicity debate for another time. I actually have some new data on that I want to review before I say anything. These things have been in use since 1949. Irving P. Crick in 1949, came up with the idea of ground-based smoke generators, and we've been using them ever since. And you know, it was kind of like serendipity. I found this video from Disney, and you know, they're talking about. I don't want to play it. I don't want to get a strike. God forbid. In the video, they talk about, you know, controlling hurricanes and using satellites and cloud seeding rockets and everything to steer hurricanes. Now, it said technical director Irving P. Crick. I had done all my timelines. I didn't know anything about this guy till then. Well, he was the technical advisor on this Disney film that everybody's been passing around, Eyes in Outer Space. You know, his cloud seeding generators went on to be, you know, funded by the Bureau of Reclamation, U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, and all across the Rocky Mountains on the West Coast. It was called Project Skywater. Now, I actually got this off archive.org as well, and you know, this is U.S. Department of the Interior, Bureau of Reclamation, you know, bragging about their cloud seeding generators. See, there they are. Yeah, baby, Mountain Skywater. Anyway, so this stuff has been going on forever, and nobody talks about it. I mean, not even slightly. So the point of all this is it's all gambling. Every bit of what's going on is gambling with the weather. It is weather warfare. It's war on the climate. It's tug of war in the skies. It's unregulated, undetectable, and we really need to get some clarity. We really have to get some clarity. In 2003, the National Academy of Science said cloud seeding is unpredictable. And the point I want to make is this. We conclude that the initiation of large-scale operational weather modification programs would be premature. Okay? And there's a bunch of other quotes here to back that up. Well, then they can't jump forward to today. They wanted a second whack at it. Bill pointed this article out to me to begin with, that they were doing this program, and I followed it, and they came to their conclusion, and they were studying those ground-based seeders. Do they work? The results from the study last year were cloud seeding produced a 3% increase in precipitation with a 28% probability that the results happened by chance, that it was luck.
A whole lot of money to spend on 3%.
So we're talking, yeah, Bill, since 1946 till today, the last time they did a review was in 2003. NAS said, you guys are gambling with the weather. Flash forward to today, they tried with the best equipment they got. They got NCAR, you know, the guys from the Weather Modification Research College over there, corporation, they're both. They, you know, funded the whole thing. They wanted to prove, we're going to prove that we're actually able to deliver, and failed miserably again. So what does that tell you, Bill? I mean, when, you know, I look at the records, okay, so I've got the NOAA records here. You can call NOAA up, and they'll fax you a sheet. The sheets look like this. Let's go to like 2007 and 8, whenever all that crazy crap was going on. So look, I mean, literally, these are the cloud seeding projects in America.
Oh, I remember.
Who's doing them? Yeah, I know. Bill is mapping these out for me. Who, you know, operator, sponsor. This is who's doing it. This is who's paying for it. You can see Water Board, Texas Water Board, State of Nevada, Wyoming, Kings River. You can see who's modifying the weather. Then it says right here, area square miles, 184,000 square miles of weather modification.
Tells you what
dumping silver right out. This is, and most of these are in the sky. I don't think the ground-based seeders are even in this list. They're not even in these lists. Okay, so all of this is going on. These are just over America. Worldwide, the last published report was 2006. So I don't even know what's happened since then. I haven't been able to get an accurate report. Finally, every Tom, Dick, and Harry's getting in on the fun now. Oliver's Travels is offering perfect wedding day weather for $100,000. Yeah, so while somebody, the insurance company, just paid somebody to make the hail go away, some other dude comes along, wants to make it rain, and these guys say they want a clear sky so they can, you know, have guaranteed perfect wedding day weather with Oliver's Travel. A travel company is now modifying the weather. You know what I mean? Wow. Rain on request. These guys are crowdsourcing ionizers to, you know, make it rain with electricity over in, you know, over in freaking California. And the new system can make it rain on demand. Company is raising $1 million to build one system. And I covered this a month ago. So it's just getting out of hand is my point. And while all we talk about is CO2, 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 and that's what's causing all the crazy weather. No, I say everybody trying to control the freaking weather, and the militaries and the corporations, all of them together, they need to stop. We need to know who's doing it, when they're doing it, why they're doing it, and if you cause damage that kills somebody or flood somebody out, you are held liable, period. So that's pretty much what I got, dude. And at the end here, I say, they banned it in 1978 with NMOD. They never built a system to make sure that somebody wasn't doing it. And we found out this year they don't have a system. And then the CIA went and ran their mouth to Alan Robach and brought all this up. So bravo to Alan Robach. Bravo to the CIA guys for bringing this up and bringing a lot of attention to what we're doing. And I really hope everybody reviews this material, because I'm like hoarse.
Yeah, great show, man. You did a lot of information.
Woohoo, I'm going to like that.
A lot of great information.
Oh, look, we got
that, buddy.
Dude, this was a monumental work to try to put all this into one article. I've covered less than 10%, not even 5% of what's on Climate Viewer. If you want to come over here to the Geoengineering page or the Weather Control page, you're going to get your eyes open really quick. We have multiple videos where you can come through and see all this stuff, learn about what's going on, in the format you like, or see it on a map. You can see all the cloud seeding projects I just talked about, and then we've got articles breaking all this stuff down, in detail. And some of them, they're not even, I didn't even write anything. I just said these are corporations doing it. Here's their names and addresses, and that's the way it is, Here's all of the companies doing it. Here's the derivative stuff. Here's the people the insurance companies, there they are, guaranteed weather, So you guys, the material is there. It's all in the article. Start browsing it. Share it with your friends. Talk about the clarity clause. If you don't like what I got there, help me come up with a better one. But I want to come up with some way to force them to enforce the NMOD Act. The NMOD Act is our savior. So research the NMOD Act. Research how weather modification got banned in the first place. All the information's on climateviewer.com. If it's not there, let me know. Send me an email. Call me. My phone number's on every single page on that website. And send me a link. I'll add it to the timelines. I'll add it to our pile of facts till our pile of facts are so tall that nobody can argue with it. Damn, Chris, why didn't you bring a mic, man? I wish you could talk. Bill, what do you think, bro?
Well, it's a very informative show. One of the things that keeps popping up in the back of my head, and it may seem unrelated, but I believe it is related. I'm believing that the UN is having a lot to do with this, and it will be, bringing forth their Agenda 21 plan. Not to discount anything that the military is doing or the private industry is doing, but I think there's many different facets to this that we're not even aware of yet.
Oh, I'm sure, dude. I'm just trying to follow, what I can, I believe to be true, and what I see time and time again is too many people work. I'll put it even simpler. If you had a guy laying on an operating table, would you want 25 people working on him at the same time?
No.
That's what's going on in the sky every single day.
More than that. More than that.
Have I done any work on Tesla? Yes, Tesla's my right-hand man. Me and Tesla go way back. Freemasons are the United Nations. I would not disagree with you on that. Yep, UN Agenda 21, right path. NATO is also involved. You would be correct. On screen, here's the World Meteorological Organization expert team on weather modification.
Cool.
link. And every one of the links are legit, real, and accurate. So you can see who's involved there, and you can see affiliates, NCAR, there you go, and who's involved, Tel Aviv University in Israel and China and Australia, Japan, Russia, Thailand, India, and all of their links.
All the major players, all the big players.
Do you see how right here it says registered 2007 to 2009? Link has been removed, and there's nothing after that. Kind of bunk. I'm gonna call Mr. Rolf. How do you say that? How do you say that? R-O. I'm gonna have to ask him.
I can't see it.
I'm gonna have to call him. But yeah, dude, all these people, they have names and addresses and numbers, and we need to really start getting in touch with them and saying, WTF is what I'm thinking. And I really would like for people to talk about, the clarity clause. I think the potential for enforcing InMod is like one of the only solutions that we have that is easily doable. I mean, literally, with the CIA asking Alan Robach, dude, could we detect it, means that they are finally recognizing the fact that even though they've been busy learning how to modify the weather and do weather warfare, somebody else has too, and they don't have a defense. They can't tell, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because you got one nation accusing the other nation and another nation accusing another nation, and at this point nobody can prove who's doing what to who.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And that's where my dog in this race is, I've got a daughter, and she's going to grow up in a world where, it's already out of hand with how many people are, modifying the weather now. With these like weather company, Oliver's Travels jumping in, some dudes from an airport doing an Indiegogo for cloud ionizers in California, and the military's all involved in the weather warfare. And all I hear on the news every single day is CO2 is causing crazy weather. It just blows my mind. It just blows my mind, man. So until they address the people actively trying to control the weather, I don't want to hear about anything else that's causing crazy weather. So I think we're done, Bill. I think I've run out of steam. I've said it all, or I haven't said too much. What do you think? Bill, we lost Bill. I destroyed Bill. Chris, in the top corner, top of the screen, there's a little cog, and you can choose your microphone if this is your first time on Hangouts. I'm going to wrap this bad boy up, but you guys come over here to climateviewer.com, you click on pollution, scroll to the bottom, you'll see weather modification, and you can see the Weather Modification Association projects across America. I've mapped a couple of them. Then the 2012, one of those PDFs that I showed earlier. That's the projects, that's where they occur at. You can click on these bad boys and it'll tell you hail damage mitigation, 1974 and 75 here. These are some historical docs from this. These are all from 2012. And finally, the Earth Observing Lab from NCAR, their global experiments.
I got to move out for a second, man. I got some kind of emergency across the street. I think it's a shooting. I'll be right back.
Bill, we're going to end the show anyway, man. Go duck and cover. Grab your gun.
Okay. All right, great show, man. Thank you for having me here. I learned a lot, and I know I got a ton load of reading to do.
Andrew, I just saw your question. Let me scroll up 1 second. Love you, Bill. Get out, dude. Where did Tesla get his work from? Tell me. Because I hear a lot of different answers on that one. Dude, Chris, we're going to have to get your mic set up for the next one. Well, guys, I'm going to wrap up right there. Been a long week trying to write this 9-page behemoth of an article. I really hope you guys share it out there. Fact check it. Make sure I didn't mislink anything. Make sure that, what I put there is accurate. If you find that I did do something wrong, please point it out to me in a polite way, and I will review your material. I always can change on any daily basis based on the facts presented to me that day, and I hope that you can too. Live like a dog. I'm hoarse, man. So love you guys, mean it. This was a great show. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna get better at the hangouts and rocking the chat simultaneously while being on two different channels. Yeah, we're totally at Mad Max time. Mad Max is coming out at the end of this year, new movie, and you'll see.
Got his mic working.
Water Wars. Chris, say something before we go, dude, man.
Peace, peace, peace.
Nah, I'm not going to hang up. It's not like we're on Blog Talk. Chris is from Microwave Planet. Love this guy. Dude, you got to come on my show next week, and we'll wax on Heart for like an hour or so.
Love to. All
right, so we will definitely hook that up. And glad you figured out your mic before the end. All right, guys, I appreciate it. So, guys, go over here, share this bad boy out, and tell everybody, man, that weather warfare is ongoing daily. There are people betting, stealing, robbing, moving, shifting, zapping, just screwing with the weather on a daily basis, and there's no transparency whatsoever. So demand transparency, demand verification of the NMOD Act, and demand them let us know when somebody's dumping chemicals in the sky to either modify the weather or just straight out kill people. We should be able to tell. Make sure that they can't, if we got a military that we're paying all this money for, make them defend us. But I want it public. So I hope you guys can support that, and unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. And knowing is half the battle. You're right, Bill.
That's right.
Later, gang.